Are You Here? Is the first feature film by Mad Men creator Matthew Weiner. The comedy stars Owen Wilson and Zach Galifianakis. They play best friends who return to the town where they grew up. But they learn one of them inherited a family fortune. Matthew Weiner wrote and directed Are You Here? We're very pleased to have him back in Studio 57. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
From television to making movies.
Yes.
And why friendship as your topic?
I kind of reached a point in my life where my male friends had kind of disappeared. And part of it was that I was lucky enough to have gotten married, and my wife was my best friend. But I kind of started thinking, like, well, what was that part of my life? What held us together? And you also sort of like think about the part that played in, you're with a complete stranger that's part of your life, and then it disappears. And in movies and TV in particular, it is, I guess, a wish fulfillment, but you see male friendship constantly talked about, and you're kind of like, I don't have that. What's wrong with me? So you're exploring the
dynamics of that.
Yes. I mean, basically, what is it to be one of the guys or something is an interesting idea, but there are people who have friendships for life.
The power of friendship. I mean, it's such a great thing to do a movie. And Owen Wilson, of course, what a great cast you have.
Oh, thanks.
His character says in the movie, friendship is a lot harder than love because there's nothing in it for anybody. Really?
That was the first line I had in the movie.
Yeah.
And I do believe that. I think it's the idea, you know, you don't pick your family, and you have a sexual relationship with your significant other, and this is something that's sort of, and you know, this is the person you go to the doctor with. This is, it's just an unusual thing. It may just be that I write a lot about loneliness. It might be my own issue, but I thought it was something that I was experiencing.
You do pick your friends. And maybe it's not a coincidence that your two characters share a bond over substance abuse.
Yes.
And apropos, sadly, of the Robin Williams news, a very serious mood disorder, bipolar.
Right.
Which you were writing about for a commercial film. You started this 10 years ago.
Yes.
And you thought that people would come to a commercial film with bipolar. I mean,
you know what?
To you.
Honestly, I am interested. I wanted this. I was inspired by movies of the 70s. I love Hal Ashby. I love that movie 5 Easy Pieces. I wanted to do a movie that was slightly socially conscious and based on reality. And I don't really do a lot of judgment of my characters, but I am interested in what I think is a sort of state of alienation right now, which has to do with our inability to feel, and maybe our desire to not feel. And I think we use substance abuse, and this character does certainly. And of course, Zach's character is mentally ill, and they are kind of living in a world that looks like they're in a movie, like they're in some kind of stoner comedy. And then as the movie goes on, you start realizing, oh, wait a minute. Owen's character actually has a substance abuse problem, and Zach's character is actually mentally ill. And I wanted to treat that with some seriousness. It's sort of, to me, it's like a complicated issue of like, what is the solution to that? It's just a compromise. You know?
As Jane said, this is so apropos because we're talking about Robin Williams' death. And Jane and I were talking about earlier because in the paper today, the rates of suicide among men, middle-aged men, is up 40%. That's that state of alienation that you deal with in some ways in this movie.
I feel like, you know, you can't control it, and then the idea is that Owen's character has to stop taking drugs, and Zach's character has to start taking medication. And I kind of was like, that is the compromise of life. You know, who even knows if you can ever get out of that? And that's kind of what I was interested in.
This is fascinating. All of this is brain-related, too, as you know, both addiction as well as manic depression.
Sure.
But the couple of things about you I want to talk about. One is the way you write, which is standing up just talking and having people recorded, which is the way Edward R. Murrow actually used to write.
I'm glad to hear that. I will take anything that comes with Edward R. Murrow.
And secondly, Mad Men. 2015 has how many new episodes?
There'll be 7 episodes. It's the second half of the last season.
Now?
My life?
No, Mad Men.
It's the end of the show. You know,
Yeah.
It's been an incredible experience, and it was incredible to, you know, sort of peel things off. First, the writers stopped working, then the actors and the crew stopped working, and now I'm in post-production with that group. And the ironic thing is eventually I will be back alone with my computer, which is sort of where I started.
You know, 10 years ago when you started writing the feature film that we are talking about,
Yes.
you might not have predicted that people would predict that TV is going to make feature films obsolete because TV is so good.
So hot.
Mad Men, Sopranos,
Breaking
the list
Bad.
goes on, Breaking Bad. And you're-
yeah, go ahead.
No.
Yeah, the internet revolution is also part of that too.
I think it is, and I think also the movie business is so internationally oriented that I think that to have a culture-specific, language-specific adult drama or adult comedy, you have to sort of go on TV. That's where the business model is. But, you know, I wrote the pilot for Mad Men 14 years ago. And then I wrote and it got me my job on The Sopranos. And then I wrote this movie during my first 2 seasons of The Sopranos. And then I got to do Mad Men like 3 or 4 years after that. So I have this like continuum of like not being anywhere near when I write something to when I get to make something. So for me, you think of a story, you try to be a storyteller, and you know, is it a movie, is it a TV show? I don't even know. I'm just happy to get to work.
Congratulations, Matthew Weiner. Great to have you again at the table.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Great to be here.
And Are You Here opens in theaters a week from Friday.